Hey guys, backyard scrapping here. Today we're actually going to be doing some silver refining. One of my subscribers, he and I have been conversing back and forth a little bit, and he had commented on my silver contacts video on how he does his silver contacts. He actually files them off instead of using heat or anything like that. So we've been talking back and forth, and he's got this powder that he has from filing off the contacts. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to see how much silver is in that. Now, he had told me that he put a little, he had put it in AP and whatever, but then it didn't get rinsed good, and so it's kind of coppery colored where the copper, I guess, is still deteriorating from the powder. But what we're going to actually do is we're going to weigh this up. We're going to see what we got here. And then we're going to go out to the little lab and we're going to clean this up. I'm actually going to rinse it with boiling water a few times and make sure we get rid of any residual HCl that might be in it. And then we're going to figure out what the ratio is, what percentage of silver is actually in this powder. So we're actually kind of doing a little poor man's assay, because I'm just going to process this whole thing. And we're going to see what percentage of this is actually silver, to find out if it's actually going to be worth it to finish refining it. So I am showing 27.02 grams on my little scale. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this off and bottle this up, and then we're going to be moving outside to start the process of refining this powder and seeing exactly what we get out of it. So we'll be back at you in just a few minutes. Okay guys, we've moved outside. This is actually the beaker I'm going to use to dissolve these filed off silver contacts in, or the silver powder. But first I'm going to just go ahead and put it in the jar, and we are going to rinse this with boiling water a few times. Like I said, I want to make sure there's no hydrochloric acid left in it at all, because we don't want to be making any silver chloride with our little test. So first thing I want to do is make sure that this is really clean, and then what we're going to go ahead and do is get our nitric acid solution, and we're going to go ahead and dissolve this. Right now I'm waiting on the water to heat up, so we'll get right back at you in just a couple of minutes. Okay guys, we're back. We're actually going to go ahead and start our rinse. I've got my pour off jar, make sure we don't lose anything. But it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It caked up. But we will go ahead and start our rinsing procedure here. I mean, that hot water clumped it up pretty good, so I mean, it's looking to me like it's going to have a fairly decent content of silver just by that. I got to get all these floaters off of here. And you can definitely see there's some, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but there's definitely some loose copper floating around now. But in any case, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and rinse this several times. I'm getting a lot of floaties, so there's definitely some other materials in there just by seeing what's happening from the hot water. I don't want to really let it settle too much, because I actually do want to clean it. So we're going to go ahead and pour that off, and we'll keep this. but you can see that is actually not gray. It is actually red or reddish brown, where if that was actually silver pouring off of there, we would have more of a gray color. But like I said, we'll hang on to that because that'll all settle out. Right now I just want to get the main part of this sample clean. You know, I mean, if he's got a pound or two of it, or, you know, however much, 1,000, whatever he's got. But what the main thing is we got to see, you know, here in the States, it's hard to do this stuff because of the price of the nitric acid. So, and that's about the only thing you're going to get that's going to dissolve your silver. So, I mean, it has to balance out. It's got to be worthwhile doing. I mean, big companies, they, you know, they recover everything. They reuse their acids. They use electroplating. They have, you know, but when you're just a little home refiner like me, you got to take everything into consideration. You know, I've actually bought a little system that I'm going to use to start recovering my hydrochloric acid. I'm actually going to distill it back, because that's a lot better than disposing of it. You know, neutralizing and disposing of it. I might as well do it back, but then that's another process. But anyway, we're going to keep rinsing this till it goes clear, and we'll get back to you in just a bit. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you, we rinsed this several times. We still got a little tinge of red in there, but anyway, the nitric acid will dissolve that. I don't know if you can see on top of this, but you can see that little bit of, let me see if I can get over here in the brighter light. Well, that's even worse, I guess. Maybe you can see it. I can't see it through the camera. But if you look, you can see a little fine film floating there, and that appears to be red, so I'm believing that that's copper. I know by doing this we did, you know, we poured off probably a little minute amount of silver that's going to be in that, but we're not going to toss that. We're going to hang on to it and clean it some more. But right now I'm just going to go ahead and let that jar settle out, and we're going to go ahead and get my gloves on and break out the nitric acid and figure out how much we're going to need to dissolve this, and we're going to go on. So I'll be right back at you in just a few minutes as soon as we get all that set up. Got to wait for, I actually have a little bit of gold up here cleaning up right now in some hydrochloric acid. I don't know if you can see that either very well, but it's just about done, so I'm waiting for that to finish, because I'm actually going to have to, because this is open particles like it is, which means we have a ton of surface area. I mean, the nitric acid is going to react with that really fast. So I'm going to have to be very careful adding my nitric acid, and I have to do it out there because I know we're going to get a lot of NOx gas off of that. But anyway, we'll be back at you in just a few minutes. Like I said, I want to go ahead and get set up, get my gloves on, break out the nitric acid, and then we'll see what we're going to get out of this stuff. So we'll be back at you in a few. Okay guys, as you can see, I've got about 50 mils of distilled water there. There's our silver contact filings that we've rinsed, and I am now going to, I guesstimate it's going to take about 40 mils of nitric acid to do this project, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this out and pour us out 40 mils of nitric. I actually bought some smaller bottles to do this with so that I'm not handling such a big bottle, and I just haven't gotten around to transferring this nitric acid into it yet. But I don't know why they make bottles like this to pour such nasty stuff out of. I mean, you would think they would come up with something that's a little bit safer. I mean, they almost always spill a drop, or a drop runs down the bottle. And I mean, you don't want this stuff on you, trust me. But anyhow, they don't. But I've got a couple bottles I'm going to transfer in that are going to be a lot easier to pour out of. So anyway, I did pretty good. Got us right at 40 mils of nitric acid. We're going to be moving out into the yard because I really don't want to take a chance under here without everything going. I'm going to turn my back fan on, and we'll get back out there and get set up. Be right back. Okay guys, I've got us, let me take my headset off. I've got us set up out here in the yard. I've got our silver in our beaker. I've added our 50 milliliters of distilled water to that. I've got us in an overflow jar because, like I said, this could very well react really fast. But we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of nitric to it now and see what we get. Just like I thought, we were going to get a really quick reaction. So we're going to have to do this nitric pretty slow. But we're going to go ahead and let that react for a while, get rid of some of that initial metal, and then we'll come back at you when we add some more nitric acid to this and go ahead and see what our filings, silver contact filings, is going to yield out. Alrighty guys, we'll be back in a bit. Okay guys, we're about 10, maybe 15 minutes into the reaction. You can see a little bit of NOx is forming inside that jar. That's the stuff you absolutely don't want to breathe in. But by the looks of our solution, I mean, it's got a silvery color to it, but I'm not seeing any blue yet, which is actually good because that means there's not a whole lot of copper in it, which is a good sign. So basically what we're going to have to do when this slows down, we'll come and put a little bit more nitric acid in it and just keep doing that till the reaction stops and we see what we've got left in the bottom. Now, he told me that these didn't come off of things that had a lot of tungsten in them. So if we end up with basically nothing left in the bottom, then we've got a pretty good sample. But like I said, we're not going to know that till we go along. But I'm still not seeing a whole lot of blue, so that's actually really good. Alrighty, so we'll get back at you in just a little bit when we go to add some more nitric. I'm going to let this go ahead and settle out a little bit. Back at you in a few. Okay guys, as you can see, I actually did move this in and put it on a little hot plate to help the reaction along a little bit. I'm still not seeing all that much blue. We do have a little bit of NOx in there now. Our reaction is slowed somewhat even after putting it on the heat, but we're still having pretty good reaction. I don't know if you can see that in there. We're getting a lot of bubbles. I'm trying to stay away from this because I don't have my mask on, and I should, but it's very hard to talk through the mask when you're doing this, although I don't know that the NOx, the mask does all that much for the NOx. I know it does virtually nothing for chlorine gas. So don't be under the illusion that because you're wearing a mask you're safe. You just need to stay away from this stuff when it's processing, mask or not, because there are some gases, I don't care, you know, unless you've got a $10,000 gas mask, you ain't gonna make it. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take the lid off of this and get a breath of air and get over here. And I just checked the temperature. It's about 160 Fahrenheit, so I'm going to slowly add a little bit more nitric. Remember, keep your gloves on when you're doing this because we are making silver nitrate right now, and if you get it on you, you've seen my fingernails in other videos and my hands where I've goofed up and got a little on me, and it takes a long time, especially if you get it on your fingernail, for it to go away. I mean, it literally has to grow out. But anyway, let me get up here and we'll put a little more nitric in. Get back and get another breath. Yeah, we're going to have to be really careful adding that nitric acid because it's just going to town the second it hits it. Let's get back away from that again. Alrighty, and we'll get back to you in just a bit. Okay guys, our reaction has slowed down a little bit. Actually right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to step in there and take that lid off and put a little bit more distilled water in there so that silver has some place to go as it dissolves. And then we're going to probably add a little bit more nitric. So let me go ahead and do this right quick. Yes, I hear you, cat. Still got really good color there. I'm not seeing a whole lot of blue, so that's actually good. A little bit more distilled water in there. But I am seeing some little floaty guys. So we've got some other metals in there. Let that set for a minute and then we'll put some more nitric in. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more nitric to this now. It's slowed down a little bit. So we've still got quite a bit of sediment in the bottom. Yeah, there she goes, kicking off again. We'll go ahead and put this cover back on. You can actually see the little bit of silver that's in the mist. It's actually setting out and making a little mirror on here. Alrighty, so we'll let that run its course and we'll be back. Okay guys, I put that last batch of nitric in. I didn't video it because this reaction is really slowing fast. To be honest with you, this has actually got me a little bit vexed. I'm not seeing, it's a little bit blue now. I did check the solution, there is silver in it. I precipitated a little bit of silver with both some stannous chloride, and also I did it with a little HCl. So there is silver in solution. I'm not seeing any reaction anymore pretty much from the nitric, but we still have quite a bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we have a lot of powder still left in the bottom there that is not reacting with the nitric acid. So we've got possibly a couple of things going on here. And that is actually kind of a blue cloudy, so I may not have gotten all that hydrochloric acid out of that stuff. And we may have a little silver chloride in there, but still we should not have that much left on the bottom. So it leads me to conclude a couple of things. We either have non-reactive metal to nitric acid, which is going to be tungsten or platinum or palladium, I think, or gold. So the only thing I can do here is I'm going to let this go a little while longer. In a couple minutes I'm going to take a tiny piece of what I know is pure silver and drop it in there and see if it reacts. If it does, then I know our nitric is not consumed, and whatever we have, whatever that powder is that's left in the bottom, is obviously resistant to nitric acid. And there's only a few metals that are like that. So let me let this sit a minute. Let me go get a little piece of silver, and then we're going to come back and do that test and see what we've got. Alright guys, we'll be back in just a sec. Okay guys, we got our little tiny piece of test silver here in this little bottle. I actually, again, should have my gloves on, but I wanted to show you that. I got a different camera. that I can do really close-up shots with. So I just wanted to show you that little piece. Like I said, I should have my gloves on, but this is going to take a little dexterity to do this, to drop this where we can see it. But I don't know if you can see down in there. But I mean, we're basically stagnant. We're not having any reaction, and we still got a lot of stuff down here. So I'm going to take this and drop this in. It's actually not real easy to do, but I want to drop that, you know, right in where we can see it. And this is going to tell us if we have more nitric that's active. And we do. We have tons of nitric that's active. I don't know if you can see that. Am I on it good? It's real bright out here today. It's hard for me to get a good view on this. But we are definitely active. So whatever that metal is, whatever that is that's in there in the bottom of this is not silver. So I'm going to go ahead and let that little piece of silver dissolve. And when it's done dissolving, we're going to filter this all out and see if we can figure out what this is going on here. Alright guys, we'll get back to you in just a little bit. Okay guys, so you saw we put our little piece of silver in there, our little piece of pure silver, and it reacted. So that tells me that the nitric is nowhere near spent, and yet if you look right there, I've kind of got it all to one side, we still have all that powder left in there. So like I said, I don't know if this is tungsten. It's possible that it could be palladium. Some contacts are, you know, made out of palladium. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this sitting on the shelf, I'm going to let it settle for a while, and then I'm going to come out here and filter it off, and I'm going to see how much silver we got out of it. We're going to go ahead and recover the silver. Then we're going to try and figure out what this is in the bottom. Okay guys, we are back outside. I'm going to go ahead and filter this stuff off. I've actually got a double filter going in there. It's going to take forever to do, so I'm just going to show you that I'm going to go ahead and get it started. There are some really fine little particles of stuff in here, but anyhow, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and filter this off. When I get down where I'm going to be touching stuff, I'll put my gloves back on because I don't want my hands to be black for a year. But you can see down there still, I mean, look at all that powder that's left, and I know this nitric. I'm even going to check it again once I filter it. I'm going to put another little piece of silver in it, see if it reacts. I mean, we're actually getting a really, what's filtering out is a pretty clean, clear color. I mean, we got a little bit of blue in there, but anyway, we'll filter it out and we'll see what it is. So, I mean, that's just going to, naturally, the less blue there is in it, the less copper there is in it, which means the purer the silver nitrate's going to be, which means the better the silver drop is going to be. But we still have, I mean, there's at least, gosh, it looks like a teaspoon full of powder down there. I'm really hoping it's palladium. If it is, Dr. Z should be very happy, because his little batch of metal is going to be worth a heck of a lot more than he thought it was. But we'll determine that once we get this filtered out. And like I said, I've got a double filter in there, so this is really going to take a long time. So I'm just going to kind of cut until then. I'm hoping I can get all this done and see what that stuff is before it gets dark. Because if I don't, it'll be next week, and I don't want to do that. I've got to go to work tomorrow. So anyway, we'll get back to you when this gets filtered out. Okay guys, just touching base with you for a second. Okay, we've got the last of that solution filtering out. This is what's left in the bottom of the beaker. Now it does have like a purple hue to it, so there may have been, like I said, I think I didn't get all that, maybe I didn't get all the hydrochloric acid out when I rinse this. I maybe should have rinsed it more, and that purple could just be the silver chloride turning purple. But in any case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rinse this with boiling water. And I think instead of trying to do aqua regia or anything like that on it, I think I'm just going to take about half of it. I'm going to go ahead and rinse it and clean it, dry it, take about half of it and try to melt it. And then I can do a really simple test using 22 karat gold solution to see if this contains palladium. Instead of going through all that refining process again, that'll give us a pretty good indicator if it does. So I'm going to go ahead and let this filter. We're going to recover our silver. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and rinse this really good, dry it, and then see if we can't melt some of it. Alright, so we'll get back to you in a little bit. Okay guys, so that's finally filtered off. I rinsed that metal, or that powder that was in the bottom. That's the rinse jar. I'm going to let that settle out. I got most of the stuff that seems like it was easily suspended in that jar. And then over here on the heat, we have what was left in the bottom, which I'm going to dry out and try and melt and see if we can do an easy test on it to see if that's palladium or not. But anyway, let me get this doubled out. Well, actually, I'm going to let me go get my camera stand so I can set this up. But we're going to put some urea in this to make sure that the nitric is nulled out, because I know I'm not even going to bother with the silver. I know there's active nitric in there. So we'll go ahead and do that, and let me get my stand and we can go ahead and drop this silver, which it looks like it's going to be, I don't know how much, but it's going to be fairly clean, because that's actually a very pale silver nitrate solution compared to like when I refine sterling or something. It's, you know, blue as this thing. But anyway, so let me go do that and we'll get this set up and we'll see what we end up with in the silver. Anyway, I may not be able to get to this other stuff tonight. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, let's get that going. So we'll be back at you in just a minute. Okay guys, we're going to pull this filter out. And I'm going to keep this filter because, like I said, I really don't know what we're dealing with yet. And if that is palladium, then there's actually palladium in this little filter. So let's go ahead and do that. Get some distilled water, a little bit of distilled water, rinse that through. Set this aside. Okay. Now, like I said, I know there's active nitric in here because of that piece of silver, but this is just going to verify it. So let's go ahead and leave that there for a second. Let's get some urea to put in here. And denox this. Let me actually get some of it. Yeah, there's plenty of nitric in there. Plenty of nitric acid left in there. So there was enough to dissolve what we thought was silver, obviously, but as it turns out, it wasn't silver. But anyway, like I said, let's go ahead and get this denoxed, and we're going to put a little bit more water in it. And then I made a fresh copper coil. We're going to set that up and drop it with a fresh copper coil. There's actually quite a bit of nitric left in there. So we didn't dissolve that much metal. Yeah, look at that. A lot of free nitric left in there. Can even hear it fizzling. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this done, and then we'll get the camera set up and show you the drop. Alrighty guys, I made a fresh coil because I didn't want to use an older one. I want all this to be fresh. We still got a little haze in there. I can't figure out what that is or where it's coming from. But anyway, this is going to be close enough to figure out what we're going to do. We've got our other powder that was left over on the burner drying. So we're going to go ahead and drop our silver and see how much silver we got out of that. And I'm going to just let this run. I'll time lapse it if I have to, but anyway, we'll just let this go and we'll see how much silver we got out of that powder that he sent. And then we're going to try and figure out what this other metal is. So here we go. Okay, the transfer process is just about complete. We can tell because we're not getting anything on our coils much anymore. I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, knock it off real good. I'm going to spray that off in there. We'll leave it sit a few more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop this because we're almost to the rinsing part. So we will get back at you when we go to rinse that. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you, this is our powder. It's dry now. That was left that the nitric acid didn't touch. So I'm actually going to go take this in a minute. I'm trying to go fast. I'm running out of daylight. But I want to actually weigh this all, and then I want to take about half of it and I'm going to bring it back out here and try and melt it so I can do a quick palladium test on it. Alright, but we'll get back at you when we're doing this stuff. The silver, I'm just going to go ahead and take care of that and get it rinsed. You don't need to watch all that. But in any case, we'll be back at you when we're ready to try and melt this. Okay guys, we're back inside real quick. I just want to melt this powder that nothing, I mean it just, you know, this is the stuff that stayed in the bottom of the nitric. So we're going to go ahead and pour this in here and see what we got. Alright, so, well, it actually says 2.8 now, so we'll go with the 2.8. That'll make it easier on me. So I am actually going to take 1.4 grams of this back out to melt it. So 1.39. That's pretty darn close. Okay, so we're going to try and melt that and see what we end up with. So we'll get back at you in a few seconds. Alright guys, we're back outside. Like I said, we're rapidly running out of daylight. This is that half that I weighed inside. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this little crucible, a little melting dish. And I'm going to put some borax on it, and we're going to see if we can melt this. It almost looks to be just vaporizing. Now, most of that material burned off, and what I'm seeing is a bunch of little tiny metallic beads. So I'm going to try and get this dish hot enough to pull them all together. Okay guys, this is what we got out of that. I'm going to go throw it in the pickle pot, and then I'm going to try some 22 karat acid on it and see what happens. Boy, that would be nice if that's palladium. Okay guys, we're back inside. I did get that to melt off. It feels fairly dense. So I actually took, I said 1.4, but 1.39 grams out there, 1.39 of the powder. So let me weigh this, then I'm going to throw it in a pickle pot, and we're going to hit it with some 22 karat gold acid and see if it'll turn a little yellow green. But anyway, let's see what we lost in the burn off. So we have 0.83 after that. So we lost quite a bit of it burned off. I have no idea what that is. So actually it's 0.81. So we're going to go 0.81. I'm going to throw it in the pickle pot, and then we're going to give it a test and see what happens. So we'll get back at you in a few. Get deeper into it. Let's try this again. Have to look for the immediate reaction. I think it has a little palladium in it. I don't know how much. I don't know exactly what the rest of the metal is that's in this. I'm going to let it set for a second. Hey guys, believe it or not, I kind of actually got stuck on this thing and spent about a half a day trying to figure out exactly what this is. And the only thing that I can come up with is there are some nickel alloys that are used in electroplating. So this is kind of acting like a nickel alloy. I hammered it a little bit, so it's not, you know, it actually split when I got to here. So, you know, I mean, it's definitely not silver or nothing else. I mean, like that. There may be a little trace of silver in it. I know there's probably a little trace of gold and probably a little trace of palladium, but I actually did a specific gravity test on it. It comes out at 9.22, so it doesn't match anything. Nickel, I think, is close to 9, so with those other trace metals in it, that would be about right. So I'm not going to melt any more of it, but I am going to save the powder because, you know, like I said, there's probably traces of some other precious metals in here. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know what this little guy, or what I think this little guy is. And now we can get back to finishing up the rest of our video and see how much silver we get out of those. But anyhow, we shall move on. You never know what you're going to find when you're doing this. It's kind of like hunting coins or anything else. You never know what you're going to end up with. Alrighty guys, we'll get back at you when we get outside and start finishing up on that silver. Okay guys, well here we are, almost to the end. We've got all our material here. This is our rinsed and dried silver powder, which actually came out, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but it actually came out really, really clean. Very nice drop of silver. I mean, and that's even for just doing it off a coil, that's going to be pretty close to absolutely 999. I would give it probably, it's got to be at least 995. Definitely 99.9% pure silver. So, let's go ahead and see what we ended up with in silver powder. It's looking pretty good. Looking real good. Alrighty. Right there, I am showing 21 or 20.9 grams of silver powder. So we only have one thing left to do, and that is to melt it and see what our vaporization loss is. But I have 20.90 grams. 20.90 powder. That was our waste product that didn't dissolve after we melted that, but that actually totaled out at 2.80 grams that did not dissolve. Check this one more time, see what we get. Wow, 20.87. So after it settled a bit, so we'll call it 20.87 powder. Alright, and I don't know, like I said, if you can see this very well, but it's a very clean powder. So I'm going to go ahead and move us outside, get set up to melt it, and see what our final yield is. Alright guys, we'll be back at you as soon as we get outside. Alrighty guys, we're back outside. We're getting our little mold heating apparatus fired up. And as soon as that gets fired up good and hot and heats up that mold, we're going to go ahead and pour Dr. Z's silver. And we're going to see what our final weight is. Okay, that's coming up. Go ahead and put the cover on it. And we just get our torch set up and we'll be ready to roll. We'll be back at you in a second. Alrighty guys, Here we go. Go ahead and put his silver in this little dish. And this is going to take a while to melt, but I want to get this borax scattered over it pretty good because I don't want to blow any of the powder out, and I want to vaporize as little material as possible. So we're going to grab the torch and we're going to get ready to rock and roll. We'll be right with you in just a sec. Alrighty guys, here we go. We're going to get ready to do the melt. I may either time lapse this or just cut it up like I normally do, because this is probably going to take 15 minutes or so, because I want to melt the edges very slow and lose as little metal as possible. So we'll just see. Like I said, I'll either time lapse it or I will just periodically cut it. Okay guys, this is really pulling together nice. It's telling me the way the beads are showing up and it's starting to melt that we've got a really, really good high silver content here. It might be even a little more than I thought it was. It's probably the best drop I've ever done with copper. But anyway, we're going to continue on. Alrighty, we're getting close. It's starting to really come together good. Really nice looking silver. As I said earlier, it's probably one of the best drops I've ever gotten with copper, one of the cleanest. I mean, it looks like I'm melting pure silver, but we are almost there. Alrighty guys, we're really close. Really getting close. It's pulling together really good. Let's check our mold. Our mold is good and hot, and I'll go ahead and turn that down. And we are just about ready to pour this. Bring those edges up to that 100 degrees and beyond. Make sure roll this around a little bit. Yeah, this stuff came out really clean. It's got to be about 99.5, I'd say. Okay, let me just keep that edge hot. And we are ready to go. We had one little bead roll off, but that's pretty darn good. One little tiny bead rolled off, which that's alright. We'll throw it on the thing and weigh it when we weigh the little bar. Beautiful. Man, I'm really, really impressed with how nice and clean that stuff was. Tongs. Here's our little bead that rolled out. Yeah, this stuff came out really nice and clean. I knew it was going to be a good drop because of the color of the silver nitrate. I mean, there was whatever he did it before, by rinsing that, you know, getting the copper out or putting it in AP, I mean, really probably clean this stuff up nice. Set this over here. Beautiful little bar. Put this back over here to cool. Lift this one out to cool. And let's see what we got, guys. Wow. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's absolutely the cleanest copper drop I've ever had. This has got to be pushing 0.995 at least, maybe even more. Alrighty, we're going to go back inside and weigh it up and figure out what our ratios were and our totals and all that, and we'll be ending this video finally. Alrighty guys, we'll be back at you in a sec. Okay guys, we're back inside. Look at that little beauty. And we are ready to do our final weight, and then I'll pause for a second and do my calculations, see what we got. Our melt off was really good. 20.7 grams final. 20.70. Oh, I'm moving it, but yeah, 20.70. So we only lost 0.17 in the melt, which is very good. Tells me the silver was really nice and clean. So I'm going to do up my calculations, and I'll be right back at you. Beautiful little bar. Okay guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I know it's been super long, but it's not easy to go through this process, and you know, if you cut things out and leave it out, then nobody really knows exactly what you're doing and how long the process takes. I mean, this was a probably over about a 3-day period on and off to do this. We ended up, Dr. Z, your powder is 76.10% pure silver, which is good enough for us to do our little refine if you want to do it. We did lose 10.36% of that in this material that did not dissolve, which I am presuming is a nickel alloy of some kind, maybe with trace, you know, little trace amounts of other precious metals, but not really. There's not going to even be enough to, you know, to go after it right now. But the silver came out very clean. It actually, we got a little bit more, because after this, taking this out, I thought we were going to be below our ratio that we needed to be at. But that goes to show you the silver that is in that powder is very good, and you can see it poured very clean. I didn't even put this in the pickle pot. I haven't done a thing to it. So it is nice clean silver that's coming out of this. Again guys, I'm sorry about how long this video is, but you just can't explain this stuff in, you know, in a few minutes. I mean, if you want to see how it's done, understand how it's done, it takes some time. I want to say thanks to all my new subscribers. If you got any questions, you know, comment below, like and share this video, and we'll get back at you with something else, hopefully a little bit shorter next time. Alrighty guys, we'll get back with you again soon. Have a good one. Bye.